All right. Larry, I appreciate you joining me. I've been following your work since 2017. So I've been here a while. Yeah.
Wow.
And it's influenced a lot of what I do with the Campfire Gentleman newsletter. So I really appreciate you doing this.
Well, that's awesome, man. I think it's great what you're doing. How did you come up with the name? I'm just curious. I know you're interviewing me, but I'm so curious about the name.
Actually, I've had it for a while. The way it came about was me and my wife would have these discussions. And in these discussions, instead of referring to a YouTuber or a podcaster or whatever influencer by their actual name, we just call them by their handle. And so if I was telling a story, I'd be like, the guy from Dad Edge said this.
Guy from Dad Edge. Okay. I like it.
And so we just that sort of turned into this idea of like, what would I come up with for my own sort of moniker, and that influence, or that sort of encompassed everything that I was about in a short, 1 or 2 word phrase or whatever. And that's kind of where the idea came from. I just had it. I mean, I'm a graphic designer. And so like I immediately went home and like when I thought about it and made like a little logo and all that. And it just sort of sat there until I had a good excuse to use it for a couple of years. And as I was working this thing out, I was like, that's a perfect title for it all. So
there you go, man. Very cool. I love it. I love it.
Yeah. All right. So your new book, The Pursuit of Legendary Fatherhood, is available for pre-order now. Right?
That is correct. It is available for pre-order now. Yes, sir.
Okay. And I want to talk about that in a minute, but first I want to tell you a little story and get your reaction to it.
Let's hear it.
Okay. So back in high school, me and my best friend used to have these conversations about our dads. And we thought when you became a dad, you just magically woke up one day with all of this dad knowledge. Like suddenly you could change a tire and you're the amazing griller, and you could just handle all this stuff that life threw at you. But as a dad now, I realized that surely his dad and my dad were mostly winging all of that and making it up as they go. And so does that sort of line up with with your life experience?
I don't know, man. I've read some really good grilling books that have really helped my grilling game out. So like, I wouldn't say I really winged that one. Like the grilling thing, man, come on. Like, let's be real. We take that one very seriously. Like raising kids, it's kind of important. Grilling, like that's life or death. So yeah, I mean, like I've definitely done my fair share on some grilling tactics, some smoking tactics, the right rub, the right binders, picking the right meat. Yeah, man, that's just something you just don't wing. You don't play around with that.
So I know that you didn't exactly grow up with a great fatherhood playbook. And so can you talk a little bit about growing up and like how that shaped maybe your early experience with fatherhood?
Yeah, man. So like, let's just stay on the grilling thing, the grilling analogy. So when I became a dad for the very first time back in 2006, I got married in 2003. So became married in 2003, became a dad for the first time in 2006. I'll tell you, man, I definitely knew everything. I knew the playbook on what not to do. Like I knew like, okay, I'm not going to hit my kids. I'm not going to throw beer bottles at them. I'm not going to call them names. I'm not going to get drunk, and be like this crazy person. I'm going to try to do this right. But here's what I'll tell you. Every grilling book or, smoking book that I've ever read when it comes to like, smoking out like a good brisket or something like that, it never said, here's 100 ways not to smoke this brisket. But you'll figure it out. So like I think a lot of us, including me, thought that knowing what not to do was enough. And I'll tell you, that was definitely not enough. In fact, I thought it was actually even more detrimental because how the human brain works is what we focus on grows and what we focus on expands, even the things that we don't want. So I'm sure you probably have heard the statement, whatever we resist will persist. Whatever we resist will actually become stronger and become more a part of our life than what we want. So it's like, for instance, like people that, it's like the New Year's resolutions, right? People are like, I want to lose weight, right? Or I want to stop drinking. And I want to go on a diet. I want to eat healthy, right? So what they do is they start focusing on all the things that they're depriving themselves of. And sooner or later, your willpower will just cave. I mean, we see that all the time with New Year's resolutions. I think it's only 8% of people actually achieve their New Year's resolution. And I think it's by March. I think it's like 40% of people have thrown in the towel. I think it's by July. People don't even remember what they even signed up for, as for a New Year's resolution. But it really boils down to most people who do New Year's resolutions is they're focusing on all the things that they don't want or they can't have, right? And what we focus on grows and what we focus on expands. So over time, your willpower will eventually break. So if you're focusing on like, I can't drink alcohol, I can't have pizza anymore, I can't have chicken wings anymore, I can't have beer anymore, sooner or later, you're going to find yourself at a Buffalo Wild Wings surrounded by 3 pitchers of beer, wings, and hamburgers. Like, it's just going to happen. But if you focus on, hang on for a second, let me try to do the right things here. Let me focus on the right next thing. So like, maybe it's not the fact that deprivation is my goal. Maybe it's living a healthier life and feeling better mentally and physically and emotionally. Maybe that's what I'm after. And maybe it's going to the gym and reading books and eating the right foods and drinking enough water and having sunlight. Maybe it's those things that I really need to focus on, not necessarily the deprivation, but those things I need to be doing, right? One of my best coaches that I ever had called them levers, but he's from New Zealand, so he calls them levers. So he's like, these are the levers that I pull every day, And he talks about one of the best coaches I've ever had. His name is Fraser Bailey. He runs a platform called Superhuman Life. And if you look at it, so he's a vegan bodybuilder. You would never know it by looking at this guy. You would think this guy has to eat a raw 20-ounce steak at every meal. Like, he literally looks like an absolute savage out of 300. Like, he's so ripped and jacked, but his mentality is unbelievable. And what he talks about is he's like, I start out in the lobby of my life every single morning, but my goal is to get to the penthouse by the end of the day. And I'm like, what does that mean? He's like, well, when you focus on the right next thing and you focus on the right next things that you should be doing or ought to be doing, and you go do them, those are the levers. We'll just talk like Fraser. Those are the levers that you pull. And every lever that I pull will get me closer and closer to that penthouse. Not necessarily depriving myself of what I don't want or I can't have, but actually going and doing the things that I need to do to get me higher and get there, right? Higher meaning like up the floors, right, of his life. So like, instead of avoiding things, let's even talk about porn, right? Like, we try to avoid porn. Well, what if instead of avoiding porn, you just decided to pursue a connection with your wife? Right? Instead of that, like, there are times, like, I haven't looked at porn in a really long time. I can't remember, but there are times where I'm still tempted, right, to look at it. And that's my nudge to be like, go tell your wife what you want. Like, go tell her what you want. See what she says. She might be up for it. She might not be, but that's your responsibility as a man, is to go ask for what you want. And so I'll do that. I'll be like, and I'll tell my wife very boldly and bluntly, like, when I'm missing her, right? And I'm not going to go, sneak off somewhere with my phone or iPad or something and go have a good old time by myself. I'm going to go do the right thing. I'm going to go do the thing that actually not only, achieves, I wouldn't even say the same thing, because it's not the same thing, but achieves something way better. And it's something I should be doing anyway. So my childhood came from, my mom was married 3 times. My mom got married to my biological father when they were really young, like, I think like 21. When they had me 5 years later, they got divorced like 9 months later. My mom got remarried when I was 4. I had no idea who that guy even was. I thought he was like the dad. He adopted me. I have the same last name he does. He was very abusive. My mom stayed in a relationship with him until I was 10. He was really verbally abusive, physically abusive, beat her up, beat me up. They beat each other up. It was really, really bad. He left. I ended up re-meeting my biological father, who at that point I had never even remembered meeting, at 12. We had this relationship for about 6 months, and we parted ways again after 6 months. And that was really, really hard. My mom continued to date into my teenage years, just this revolving door of party guys and guys who drank too much and said really horrible things, and, would get physical every now and again, just really horrible situations. And then, after I was 18, she got married for the last time when I was 18. I had moved out already and went to college. But I'll tell you, by the time I got married in 2003, I felt so unequipped for it. It wasn't even funny. I felt so unprepared for it. I felt like I was just like, I not only don't know what to do, but I literally have a laundry list of the things of what not to do. And I thought, to be honest, there was a part of that was like, well, that's probably enough. And it wasn't even nearly enough. In fact, it probably threw me into the opposite direction for quite some time. And it wasn't until 2012, and I'll finish the story here, that I have a 17-year-old son now. At the time, he was 4 years old, and he stepped out of line as any 4-year-old would, and I spanked him. And unfortunately, I spanked him pretty hard, and he hit the ground and swatted him on his rear end, and he lost his balance and fell. And right when that happened, I went to go pick him up. I went to go hold him, be like, oh my God, what did I just do? And he looked at me like he was absolutely terrified of me. And why wouldn't he be? Like, I just swatted him on his rear end and he fell at my hand. And it was at that point I was like, I need to do something different. And it didn't come out of my mouth like that calm. Like, I was really emotional. I was like, what the hell am I doing? I was like, this is the exact opposite of what I want. I was crying. And it was that night I started what I've been doing today for the past 13 years. So that's how Dad Edge got started. I wish I could say it was this like beautiful epiphany of the stars aligned and everything was great, but man, it wasn't. It was very dark.
That's how a lot of things start, in a dark moment. So I'm just curious, so did you think, was it reaction when you spanked your son, or did you think that's what you're supposed to do? Does that make sense?
It was a total reaction. Like, I made a promise to myself before I had kids that I would never hit my kids out of anger. I literally remember saying that to myself. I will never hit my children out of anger. And it was a total reaction. Like, he stepped out of line. I just turned him around and swatted him on his rear end. And it was also quite a lesson, I think, too, because it was a lesson in how quickly a reactionary moment like that can happen to a man, even when he doesn't want that. So
one thing I know you talk about a lot is the drifting, this silent drift kind of thing. And I'm wondering, what does that look like in real life, like in your life? How did that sort of drift in the men you deal with? How does that manifest?
It's funny. So the book is divided up into 4 parts. Number 1 is the drift. That's part 1. Number 2 is husband. Number 3 is father. And number 4 is leader. And most people really, really, I think this is like the 7th podcast I've done this week. And most people really want to hear about the drift. They're like, what is this? And I'm like, so let me explain it a couple of different ways. I'll explain it. I'll answer your question of how it really impacted me, but it wasn't really too different than my buddy Lance. And I'll explain who Lance is here in a second. But before I do that, I want to give credit where credit is due. I didn't come up with the term the drift. I actually heard that from a former podcast guest, and I'm actually honored to call him a friend. That's Gary John Bishop. He wrote the book Unfuck Yourself and Stop Doing That Shit. Basically, he's the self-sabotage guru, right? And so he would put on his social media years ago. I'm talking 2018, when I first started getting connected to Gary and we first started talking. He used to state this stuff on his Instagram called Interrupt the Drift. And I'll never forget the first time I had him on the podcast. I was like, what does interrupt the drift mean? And the drift is exactly what I'm going to tell you. So he explained it to me, and he did it more globally, because Gary's books are for anybody, for male, female, dad, married, not married, whatever. It doesn't matter. It's for literally anybody. But he explained it to me in 99% of what people do is in their subconscious. We're not even really aware of what we're doing. We're just going through life, it's the wash, rinse, repeat. It's Groundhog's Day, and we just settle for it. We literally just settle for the life that we're living, and we don't actually step up and be time out, intermission. Let's stop the game for a minute. What is going on here? What do I want in this life, and how am I living that I don't want? And maybe I can actually stop that. That's the drift. It's it's basically you're living the life that is served up to you versus the life that you want to go live. And so I started thinking about that, and there's a lot more to it, but that's basically what it is. So when Gary explained that to me, and I was like, that's fascinating. That's really fascinating. And I really started to kind of research the drift. Well, then I started researching the drift, and I started thinking about this through the lens of a man, husband, and father. How does the drift impact a man, right? A married man who's a dad. So I came up with this guy by the name of Lance. And Lance is, quite frankly, this is how I answer your your question twofold, because Lance is kind of me too. So Lance is my avatar, and I've had Lance as my avatar for 10 years, and I didn't even know what an avatar was. And one of my very first mentors when I was doing this work he's like, you need an avatar. And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, you need a person that you're describing what's happening in their life and then how you have those solutions for them. But you really, really need to know your avatar. And I'm like, how do you do that? He's like, well, you got to give him a name. What does his life look like? What's his wife's name? How long have they been together? What's he battling? What are the things on his mind and his heart? How's he living his life? So Lance is 38 years old. He's been 38 for 10 years. He hasn't aged. So his wife is named Kate. They've been married for 10 years. They have 3 kids under 10. So they have three kids 9 and under, I would say. Lance goes to a job every single day that he really doesn't like. He doesn't hate it, but he certainly doesn't love it. He feels, quite frankly, at the end of the day, it's a paycheck. And he feels like, man, like there's a part of him that's like, this is not really the life that I thought I was going to live, and it's not really the thing that brings me joy, and it's not fulfilling, and it doesn't bring me to life. Like when I thought about being a kid and doing this job, this is not what I really thought of. So he's a bit displeased with what he does. He doesn't really like it, which leaves him pretty unfulfilled and leaves him kind of empty, to be quite honest. He feels like he's kind of trading his soul for a paycheck, and he feels a bit trapped by the whole thing because he's got to support his family. His wife's a stay-at-home mom. He's got 3 little kids. So like he feels like, I have to do this. Otherwise, if I want to do anything else, that's going to freak Kate out. Or if I want to take a chance and, fulfill my dream, I can't do that anymore. That life is now over, which leaves him feeling more and more empty. And that's fine. That's his career life, right? Then his married life to Kate. He knew Kate 5 years before they got married, and they had an unbelievable relationship. They had sex all the time. They were really connected. They laughed all the time. Like it was just an awesome relationship. And then they still got married, started having kids. That laughter and that connection over time has dissipated. They're still friends. They still talk about the things that need to be talked about, like all the kids' activities and the dinners and the bills and all that. And they watch TV together. They kind of zone out next to each other on phones. They don't really fight, but they're not really connected. They just sort of very high level connected. They barely have sex, maybe once a month or so. And everybody else around Lance is telling him, well, dude, this is marriage. Like, what do you expect? Like, it's going to be like the good old days? It ain't going to happen, man. Come on. You've been married for 10 years. You've known her for 15 years. You got 3 kids. Like, dude, this is life. You don't like what you do? That's life. You're not patient with your kids. Your kids drive you crazy. That's life. You're not having sex with your wife. Welcome to marriage. And the final thing is this. There's two other things. His physical health is not optimal anymore. He used to be in pretty good shape. He's not anymore. He just settles for the fact that like, well, if I take care of myself, that's selfish. So I can't take care of myself anymore, which leaves him feeling not so confident. He doesn't feel great in his own skin. He doesn't really like even being naked in front of Kate. He doesn't like taking his shirt off at the pool, which leaves him feeling like less of a man. And then on top of it, the nail in the coffin is Lance really wants to be a good dad. Like he really wants to be a good dad. Like it's really, really important to him. But he feels like he's leaving 30% of it on the table. Because he's like, I feel like I'm making this up as I go. Kind of like exactly how we started this podcast. Like I'm making this up as I go. I'm guessing. I don't know exactly what to do. So I'm just sort of guessing, here's what I really want to shine a light on. When we are guessing at anything, it steals so much mental bandwidth and so much of our enjoyment and so much of the present moment that it feels like you really can't actually be entrenched in the present moment because you're guessing, because you're like, I don't know if this works, right? So working mean like you want to talk to your kid, but you're sitting there thinking like, I don't know if these are the right questions. If I ask my like, hey, Junior, how was your day? And he's like, fine. He's like, oh shit, man. Like I didn't want to hear fine. I want to hear a story. What else happened today? Really nothing, Dad. Like it was a boring day. And he's just like, oh my God, like how do I get through to these kids? Like how do I get this kid to talk to me? Like I don't understand how to do this. And everybody in his ecosystem is like, well, they're a preteen, dude. What do you expect? That's your kid. And that's the drift. That's the life that guys settle for. That's the life that I was settling for. That's the life that Lance settles for. And here's what I'll tell you with every bit of passion in me, every bit of passion that I can muster. If you feel a fraction of that, or if you're like, dude, You just described my whole life. What I will tell you is you have to disrupt that belief that this is life. Because what I will tell you is I've been married for 22 years. Dude, you can fall in love with your wife over and over and over again. She can fall in love with you all over and over. Dude, you can sneak away like we do every other freaking day in this house for like some afternoon delight to get away from these kids, to go have sex in our closet because we just can't get enough of each other. We go out on date nights at least once a week. We have to. It's not something like we actually do it because we have to do this in order to stay connected, in order to stay in love, right? The thing with the kids, the good news about like the guessing thing and all this, you know, I don't know how old you are, Clay, but I'm 50. And I remember my parents, like there were no resources. If you want to be a better parent, like let's just take that one thing and then let's talk about marriage real quick. But if you want to be a better parent, number one, you couldn't go on the internet. Our parents couldn't go on the internet. Like you might go to the library and find a couple books, but nobody was really reading books. You couldn't go on YouTube. You couldn't go, there was nothing. You might have a conference every now and again, like a parenting conference, maybe, I don't know. But here's the other tricky thing. If you went to therapy for either parenting or marriage, oh, your family was screwed. Like, what the hell's wrong with you people? Like, you're going to be the next people on Jerry Springer. Like, that's how broken you are. Like, that was the taboo. That was the stereotype when you and I were growing up. Well, now there are resources everywhere. You want to be a better dad, more patient dad? Oh, there's a laundry list of things you could go do, right? There's a laundry list of things you can go learn. So the cool thing is this: while men are drifting, we actually live in my opinion, in one of the most beautiful times in human history, to where number one, it is so accepted for you to be a dad who desires to be a really good dad. I mean, look at the stands when we go to like Little League games. It's covered with dads. You see dads outside playing with their kids more so now than you ever have before. So that desire's there. What's not there is the know-how. There's too many guys out there guessing. There's too many guys out there just crumbling their mental bandwidth and their enjoyment and their fulfilling by trying to guess. You actually have the resources to go out and learn all this stuff now, so you don't have to guess. So how do we interrupt the drift? It's by learning. It's by learning these skills. It's by actually diving into the resources and then implementing them, getting your hands dirty. But that is the drift, man. And here's the interesting thing. I'll end with this. The definition of hell is meeting the man that you could have become when you're on your deathbed. And too many guys are drifting, and too many guys are going to be on their deathbed. And here's what I can tell you. They're going to be absolutely consumed with regret. Oh my God, why didn't I do it different? I had all this opportunity. I had all this time. I was literally the only thing in my way. I was the only thing in my way of my greatness, my fulfillment, my connection, my marriage, and with my kids. I was the only thing in my way. I could have learned how to do it differently and better. So if you're listening to this Campfire for Gentlemen podcast, and if you feel that you're in that situation, well, the good news is this: you can stop it right now. You can start learning right now. And your better life actually begins tomorrow. And maybe you're a 38-year-old guy like Lance, right? And maybe your life starts tomorrow. And that's a lot better life, in my opinion, when you die at, like, let's just say 75. Let's just say you're halfway there. You got another 35 years to live a kick-ass life. When maybe your other buddies who are in your ear saying, well, that's marriage and that's life. That's fine. That can be your life. That is not going to be mine.
Well, that's one thing I've tried, or I've realized sort of as I've gotten older, is like people talk about how short life is, but in a lot of ways it's actually pretty long. And so you have a long time, like 30 years is plenty of time to change things around and set a totally different path than the one you were on. And you can live, 2 or 3 different lives in 30 years, if, like I said, if you make the effort to learn and grow.
I totally agree. I mean, you can do that in your last 5 years if you really want to, I mean, so yeah, I agree with you 100%. It is never too late. I'll share this real quick. My dad and I met again when I was 30. So 20 years ago, my biological father, the one I hadn't seen since I was 12. And I met my dad when he was 56 years old. So, and we started a relationship when my dad was 56 years old. So and he's 75 now. And so you're right. Never too late. Never, ever, ever too late.
So on the on the subject of kids, like, how do you create like intentional, like, what does intentional time with your kids look like?
I think intentional time can be like anything as long as you're exactly that, which is intentional with that time, right? So you can be with your kids, you can share time, but are you in it with them, or are you just sort of like lollygagging it, right? So you can be sitting next to your kid on your phone, right? And that's one way to do it. Or the quality time, aspect is whatever you deem as quality time. So like, in the book, I talk about the power of, I think this will really help guys out. I think every guy listening to your podcast probably would agree. If I were to say, hey, do you want to become the most interesting dad on the block? Do you want to become like the dad that your kids are like, dude, my dad, like when they're over at somebody else's house, they're like, my dad doesn't do that, or my dad does do this instead, right? If you want to be that dad that is the most interesting guy on the block, then you've got to be interested, because interested people are interesting. So the more interested I am in my kid's life and what's going on with them versus me pulling them into my world, the more connected they're probably going to feel to me, and the more interesting they're going to see me, and the more interested I'll become in the connection. Because here's the thing. I think I speak for a lot of, maybe I don't know. I don't care what I do with my kids. I do not care. What I do care is, do they want to do it with me? Right? So what I'll usually like to do is so I'll give you an example. Tomorrow at 2:06, I'm playing 9 holes of golf with my 17-year-old son. Clay, do you want to know a secret? I hate golf. I hate golf. It is the one sport that I would rather play chess than golf. Like, I'm just one of those. The only thing I like about golf is we get to be outside. Like, that's it. Otherwise, the game is so expensive. It frustrates the living hell out of me. I feel like I'm already feeling the anxieties of when I drive off that tee tomorrow. I'm going to have probably 3 other parties of dudes who are way better golfers than me in clothes that I would never wear outside, who are just going to be judging the hell out of me that I can't hit this damn ball off the tee, right? But my 17-year-old can absolutely launch it probably like 250 yards, right? I don't care. I don't care. Like, I'm so excited because my 17-year-old loves golf, loves it, and he wants to play golf. So tomorrow, I am doing an activity that you probably wouldn't see me doing by myself or with really anybody else, but I get to do it with him, and that's all I'm excited about. So I'm not really excited about hitting the ball. I'm not excited about my score, but I'm really excited about laughing with him, hanging out with him, the conversations I get to have with him, that connection we get to have together, all of those things. So the other thing I'll say about activity as well and quality time is, in the book, I also talk about, like, if you really, really want to connect with your kids, and if you really even want to have a deep conversation with your kids, because there's a lot of guys out there that want to have deeper conversation with their kids, but they don't know exactly how to do that. And what I can tell you is, if you do an activity that your kids really enjoy, something that connects you, like golf, like with my 17-year-old, he can't wait for it. And he gets, he's going to be doing it with me. So at the end of that golf game, he is going to feel like this is the best freaking day ever of summer, right? Like, he'll probably, not to some degree, he might think that. So what, and I'll take him out for something to eat after that. The conversation with him that I get to have with him after golf will be so much more robust, so much deeper, so much more connecting, because we did this really cool activity together before we chatted, versus like what a lot of guys will do is they'll try to have really serious conversations with their kids without doing any type of connected activity or any type of connection beforehand. And that's a huge miss. And what I can tell you is, if you really want to have an in-depth, deep conversation with your kid, or you want to get more connected to them, go do an activity. Seriously, it's the easiest, most simplest thing ever. And do an activity that they want to do with you, not the other way around.
My son, for whatever reason, he is like obsessed with the way roads work. And like when one road, if you leave one town and go to another, the road name changes. And so like he's just obsessed with this idea about how interstates work and all this sort of stuff. So we spend a lot of time just driving around, and he'd be like, "Oh, did you notice that this road changed from this to this?" And when it end up in conversations that have nothing to do with roads, obviously. You know, if we drive around long enough.
That is so cool. Dude, you know, when I was younger, like we didn't have a lot of money growing up, and my mom was always really, really hard up for entertainment. She used to take me to the St. Louis Lambert International Airport. And there was like this commuter parking lot that had like this perfect, perfect spot to watch planes take off and land. And we would watch the planes take off and land. Like, and I thought and she'd get me Burger King, like a Happy Meal, and we go watch the planes for like 2 hours. And I literally thought that was the coolest thing ever. I still remember to this day, I was like 4 or 5 years old. But like, I still remember that to this day. It's like the littlest things like that you remember doing with your parents that you're just like, oh my gosh, like I can't believe they actually carved out time to watch airplanes take off and fly.
That's cool. Well, like this work, obviously with fatherhood and marriage and all that, like how has that affected the way your wife and kids respond to you? Like, are they're seeing this growth with you and all that kind of stuff?
So let me just be clear on this one. If I had not been doing this work for the past 13 years, I'd be divorced. I would have probably 2 boys, not 4. I would have 2 boys that probably wouldn't want much to do with me. I'd have an ex-wife that wouldn't want much to do with me. I'd probably be on my second, if not third marriage, to be honest. And if I'm really being honest with you, Clay, I might not even be here. Like, all roads led to really bad places without doing this work. What I will tell you, I'll say this with a caveat. I joke with a lot of guys in our mastermind because I'll ask them, I'm like, how many of you guys actually think like my life is like sunshine, rainbows, and unicorns, and it's like perfect all the time? And guys will like, oh, I do. And I'm like, you guys are hilarious. You guys should literally spend 48 hours at my house. Now, here's what I'll tell you. Raising 4 boys and being married, it's crazy. It's like a frat house. Like I say things out loud that I didn't think like last night. Like this is kind of funny. Like last night, my 17-year-old and my 9-year-old kept going up and down the stairs, and they kept getting blankets. And my wife is like, they're up to something. They're doing something down there. And my 17-year-old comes up and he's like, all right, you guys ready to go play a game? And my wife was like, what have you been doing down there? We've been seeing you going up and down the stairs with blankets. He's like, just come on down and see. I just thought this was so endearing. He made a putt-putt, golf thing out of blankets. So like it was 8 holes and all the holes were blankets. And like he made like pillows and obstacles. And then we had like this little ring that was the hole. Like we just move it for every time we were on a different hole. And I was just like, this is unbelievable. Like we took photos of it. Like we're all playing putt-putt in our basement. I'm like, dude, like this is what it's all about. This is why I started doing this work. Right. So here's what I'll tell you. My marriage on a scale of 1 to 10 is like a 9.5. My connection with my 4 boys on a scale of 1 to 10, it's like a 9.5. I'll never say it's a 10. I'll never say it's perfect. And some seasons they're like a 5. Like some of those things, like last fall, like a year ago, I would say like the relationship I have with my wife and kids, we were going through some challenges last year. It was like a 5. It wasn't great. We had more bad moments than I think good on some days. But I would say if I were to look at the past 13 years, like from a 30,000 foot view, it's been, I could die tomorrow and I'd be okay with it. Like that's how good I feel about it. But granted, like doing this work, I really have a cheat code. Like I really, and probably so do you, right? By doing this work, by setting aside time to do work like this, it's like the best preventative medicine that I could possibly even think of on the planet, right? Like we don't really have a whole lot of problems, but I think it's because we've done such a good job of preventing problems before they've arose because of the work that I get to do. So like my marriage is great, man. Like I've known my wife for almost 30 years and I'm freaking crazy about her. And she's crazy about me, and we're insanely attracted to each other. Like, we talk about how much we love each other probably every day. My kids, unbelievable connection with all of them, and none of them are the same. Like, all of those connections are great, but they're different to some degree. But I would say it's been, I don't know if I could ask for much better, to be honest. Like, I feel that content with what we have.
That's awesome. So what's a good piece of advice you have for strengthening a marriage?
So first, I think it's, the perception, right, of this. So like, let me talk about the perception first. Most guys, and maybe you're the same as I was, but most guys, not even guys, married couples, a man and a woman will get married, right? And they get married because they're like, well, I love him, I love her. Like, that's good, right? We're good. We probably figure this out. No, not really. Well, then you become parents. And then you're like, okay, well, we'll figure this one out. You know, we were raised by parents. So like, so here's the perception. Just because you love her, that doesn't mean you're going to cultivate a great relationship. Just because you love your kids more than anything and you do anything for them, that doesn't mean you're going to be a great parent. Like, you could really still fall on your face. So the perception is just because you love what you have, that doesn't mean you're going to be good at it. Now, I'll give you an example. I love how popular jujitsu is right now. Like, it's like a cult. Like, people just love jujitsu. I've been taking jujitsu myself. I love it. And there's a lot of guys who come into our, mastermind who are jujitsu guys, or they've done some kind of martial art. It doesn't really matter, but like, it could be jujitsu. It could be what they do for a living. Like, they're a cop. It could be that they're an IT person. It doesn't really matter, but whatever it is that they do or they love, they've learned how to do it, and they've taken time to learn it. So I had a conversation. I think this will really probably hit this home. I had a conversation with a guy who did 6 years of jujitsu, loved jujitsu. And that's all he wants to talk about, right? Which I love jujitsu too, but I'm just like, he asked me the same question. He's like, dude, I can't figure out how to create a connection with my wife. Like, we're roommates. Like, I just don't get it. Like, I love her. She loves me. I don't really understand why we're not like connected. I said, what's your wife's 3 basic needs? He's like, food, shelter, and clothing. I'm like, no. I was like, not survival. I'm talking about from you, from this relationship. She has 3 needs that she needs from you. Do you know what they are? And he's like, to feel loved, cherished. He just completely botched it, and he was making it up. I was like, no, those aren't it. I was like, it's actually to be seen, heard, and safe. He's like, I never knew that. I was like, well, there's your first lesson in marriage right there. Do you know what your 3 needs are? And he's like, to be honored, loved. And I'm like, it's to be respected, appreciated. You need physical affection. He's like, oh yeah, that makes sense. I was like, yeah, those are your needs. I was like, how long have you been doing jujitsu? He said 6 years. I said, have you done a tournament? He's like, oh yeah, I love tournaments. It's like, how long did you train before you did a tournament? He's like, I trained for a year. I was like, that's awesome. Why didn't you just join it? Why didn't you just sign up for a tournament before you even took jujitsu? Like, you seem like you really were interested in it. He's like, why would I do that? I'd get killed. Like, if I did that. And I was like, that's exactly what you did in your marriage though. He's like, what do you mean? I was like, did you learn anything about marriage before you got married? Or did you just sign up for the tournament and show up, start getting your ass kicked? And then you saw the lights go on for this guy. He's like, oh my God. Like, I never actually rolled in the marriage dojo. Like, I don't know what he's like, I don't know what I'm doing. I was like, well, the good news is you can learn. I was like, so here's to answer your question. The perception is, well, if I love her, that's enough. That's not enough. You have to change your perception. If you want to be good at marriage, you need to learn marriage. If you want to be great at connection, you need to learn connection. If you want to be better in bed, you need to learn how to be better in bed. Anything that we're good at, anything, our jobs, our hobbies, skill, trade, doesn't matter. You've been taught it and you've learned it. Marriage is no different, and so is parenting. So like, for instance, I always tell guys, I always steer guys to the fact that you have to know your wife's 3 basic needs first: seen, heard, and safe. Then you have to know how to fulfill those needs on her personal level, because every woman is created individually and unique, right? So how does she feel most seen? how does she feel most heard and what makes her feel most safe? And you need to be the one to figure that out and answer that or ask her, right? Once you know that, well, then you can start fulfilling those needs. But there's another caveat to this, and it's called communication and connection. There are so many different ways that men and women completely blow up their marriage by communicating improperly. Like they just don't know how to do it. These are two totally different types of people. It's a man and it's a woman, and they operate differently. And you have to understand how to love her in the way that she receives it. You also have to understand how to love him in the way that he receives it, not the way you want to give it. And that's what trips most people up. So I think to answer your question, number one, knowing the needs, knowing the perception of I'm not going to be very good at this unless I learn a few things. But the communication and the connection thing is really, 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 really important. Being able to create things like psychological safety where you feel okay to share anything with her and you know she'll receive it pretty okay. The same thing with you. She can tell you anything and to know that you'll receive it pretty okay. You need to be able to be friends as well. A lot of people miss that one. They kind of gloss over we're partners, right? We're partners and parents, and we're intimate. And we skip over the friendship. And the friendship is like, do you love spending time with your wife? Like, are you guys like battle buddies? Is she your ride or die? Do you play pickleball together? Do you hike together? Do you walk together? Do you exercise together? Do you pray together? Do you eat together? Like these types of things are really, really important to get out of just being parents and just being partners, but also being friends. That's a huge one right there.
Yeah. And that's one thing, on Fridays, a lot of times my wife will just run errands in the morning and I'll just drive her around just to be with her, we'll get some coffee and just drive around and, go to the post office and go to the grocery store, whatever, but
yeah,
it's just that connection and that.
So important.
That friendship. So, legacy is something that's talked about a lot when, it comes to family and children and that sort of thing. And, I'm interested, what is one thing that you hope your kids get from you that will be obvious that you sort of got through to them, when you see them out in the world, getting married, raising their own kids and that sort of thing?
I think legacy is, first of all, I think a lot of times people think of legacy as something materialistic, leave piles of cash in a house and a couple cars and that kind of thing. I have no interest in that whatsoever. The legacy that I want to leave behind is I want a gazillion photos of experiences. And let me open up my phone because I'll tell you something here. Let's see. So 120,816. That's how many photos and videos I have on this iPhone. So I take my kids joke with me. They're like, you take photos of everything, like the simplest stuff. I'm like, yeah, because those are the most important. Those are the biggest needle movers, right? Is those just simple, like taking photos of us, you making your half cocked, golf, putt-putt downstairs out of blankets. That's hilarious, right? But I think legacy is, it's the things, it's the moments that we get to remember. So for instance, I think legacy is seeing my 17-year-old son know exactly how to connect with his girlfriend, how to talk to her. I'll be walking past my 19-year-old and his girlfriend, and she'll be talking about something that's on her mind, and he'll be listening to her, not giving her advice and validating her emotional state. Man, that sounds really frustrating. Yeah, tell me more about that, Megan. What's going on? Versus diving right in and wanting to solve all of her problems, right? I just love the fact that he knows what tactical empathy is. He knows how to validate a woman's emotions, right? He knows how to ask for more information without using the word why. Things like this that go so far in relationships. So I love that legacy aspect of it. I think legacy also is, and I'm really interested in seeing how this plays out as I get older, but even my 19-year-old and 17-year-old, their home is their favorite place to be. Like they actually want to be here, which is mind blowing to me because I never want to be home growing up. And the fact that I think legacy will also show, like, as my kids are adults and they have their own families, how much will they want to be around me? How much will they want to be around us, right? If they want to be around us and I see them like every week, man, I'll take that. That's legacy, right? Things like that. Also just teaching them just life skills, relationship skills, conversational excellence, financial skills, all of these different things that I think are so important to help a young man or young woman just navigate the basics in life.
So I think we talked about it a little bit, but technology is becoming an increasing problem in our house. As my son is 12 and my daughter's 10. And so are there any barriers or rules or whatever you feel that you've implemented that you feel like has really helped sort of tamp down the technology creep in your family?
That one's really hard. So like we have different tech for different kids. So like my 19, 17-year-old, their thing is their phone. My 19-year-old, my 17-year-old's almost 18. So they pay for their own phones as well. So it's like, I try to respect the boundaries of them paying for their own phone and the fact that they're adults, right? But I also balance that with like, there's no tech at the dinner table ever. Like if a kid pulled out a phone at the dinner table, like everybody would stop talking and would stare at that person until they probably put their phone away. I'm not even kidding. We actually did. One of my 11-year-olds had his friend over for dinner and this kid pulls out his phone at dinner and we all stopped and just stared at him. And I think this kid thought he was in so much trouble. And he just like looked at us and I'm like, hey man, we don't have phones at the dinner table. So like, I think that there are certain times, right? Like we don't have phones when we're playing like our mini golf. We won't have phones when we're playing golf tomorrow. If we are trying to connect as a family, there's no tech, right? That's the boundary that we try to create. Another boundary we try to create is you don't spend too much alone time in your bedroom. Like I don't think that's very healthy for anybody. I don't do so well with this one, to be honest with you. I get really insanely triggered when I see my kids on screens. Like yesterday, my 9-year-old was on a computer and I looked at him. And again, it's the wrong approach. It really, really is. And I look at him and I go, how long have you been playing that game? And he's like, about 35 minutes. I was like, then turn it off. Turn it off, get on your bike and go to Gavin's or go to Liam's. Be a 9-year-old, go outside. It's beautiful out. Get off the screen. Like literally that's how I talk to him, which is probably not the most fruitful thing in the world, but I can't stand it. It drives me absolutely mental to see them just waste away hours on a screen. Like I literally feel like I'm watching my kids get dumber and it drives me crazy.
I've said that exact thing. I feel like you're getting dumber watching these YouTube shorts. That's what drives me crazy, are these YouTube shorts. I'm like, YouTube was already dumb enough and now we've dumbed it down even. That's.
Yeah, I feel you on that one.
We went to, it's a funny story. We went to meet the teacher 2 days ago and the kids started school yesterday. And all the teachers have these QR codes so that you register or whatever, sign up. And used to, they had like a sign-in sheet. And they're like, here's the QR code, scan it to sign in. And my wife looked at me and said, I don't have my phone. Use yours. I said, I don't have my phone either. And one of my son's friend's mom said, I love y'all both for that. We didn't even bring our phones into the school and just didn't cross our minds.
Well, there you go. I mean, that's good. And why would you need the phone?
Exactly. The teacher had to actually get out his phone and help my wife with the QR code and do it through his phone. So
well, that's funny.
Pretty funny. And finally, if a dad remembers one thing from the Pursuit of Legendary Fatherhood 5 years from now, what's the big thing you want him to take away from that?
From the book?
Yeah.
I think that's such a good question. So I wanted to write a book, and I'm actually, I don't know if you host this on YouTube, but I want to write a book where this is what it looks like. Where, I mean, it's obviously kind of a thick book. It's 280 pages. But I made, I divided this up into 4 parts, and it's 22 chapters. And I did that on purpose. So I made the chapters super digestible, super easy to read. I wanted it to where like a guy could like literally pick up the book and be like literally be like, I'll pick one out for you. The 4 elements of an extraordinary marriage, right? So if a guy's having issues with his marriage, he could be like, "Oh, let me read that one. It's only, it's 30 pages, but like I can read that one. That's pretty good. It describes each one. There's another chapter, lead her, right? That one's only 10 pages. But like something like that where a guy's like, if, maybe I need to lead right now. There's a whole chapter on never be afraid to ask for what you want, need, or desire. Guys have a serious problem with that one. Like guys are terrified to ask their wife. And when I say something like that, I think of guys that automatically start thinking about like what they want in the bedroom. Like, and that's a real fear too. A lot of guys have a hard time with that one, but I'm talking about like, if you want to go out and buy something for yourself, or if you want to go out, if you want to get alignment on a parenting decision even, or alignment on like, what church should we go to? Like that kind of thing. Like being able to not be the nice guy all the time, be like, oh, whatever you want is fine. Whatever you want, whatever, because that's really dangerous. For a man to just boldly and confidently, and I will also say like, not selfishly, but be okay with, hey, here's what I'd like to see, or here's what I really want, or this is one of the desires that I have in this situation, whatever that might be. So like I wrote the book so that the guy can like literally pick it up, and no matter what's going on in his life whatsoever, he can find a chapter or something that will help him. So to answer your question, this might sound like a cop out, but I wanted to, I don't know what that is. I think that that's probably just very individual for the reader and whatever season that they're going through. And if my book can like literally within 10 minutes, they can pick it up and read a chapter and be reminded to be like, oh, that's exactly what I needed. Okay, cool. I can move forward. Then I think that that's probably mission success.
So like a reference book almost where.
Yeah. I mean, I still think the book is a good read book, but when the book is all said and done and a guy wants to go back and easily find something, he can.
So where's the best place people can connect with you and pre-order the book?
Yeah, so to pre-order the book, I'm doing a couple things that I think really have incented people to go buy the book. We've gotten a lot of pre-orders already, which is great. If you go to thedadedge.com/legendary book, again, thedadedge.com/legendary book. If you buy the book for $28, pre-order it, you'll get access to 2 courses that are combined. They're $1,000. So each course is $500. I created a course a few years ago called Creating More Patience. Obviously, I lost my patience, when I spanked my kid. I've had tests, obviously, of patience over the years, over the past 13 years. Some of these tests I have failed miserably when it's come to patience, and some I've done pretty well. I've been able to impress myself here and there, but some I've completely botched. But overall, I created 6 different skills to help you become a more patient father, someone who can be more calm in chaos, someone who's not reactionary, but like literally 6 tactical skills that you can implement, like literally today. Like, so if you watch, the course is only 45 minutes long, and a lot of things that I talk about in the course are super simple, which I think kind of makes them effective. So that's one course, is you'll be a more patient father. The next course that I'm giving people access to is Creating Extraordinary Marriage to Elevated Connection, Communication, and Intimacy. Some of the things that I wrote in the book are also in that course, but it's 11 skills that you'll learn about communication, how to fulfill your wife's needs of being seen, heard, and safe, just basically how to attract her back to you instead of you chasing her. So that's in there for the guys as well. You'll get immediate access to that, since I can't send these books out until September because they have this nice little like not for resale thing across the cover here, like, because that's all I can order right now. I figured if people are spending $28 because they want information that bad, I might as well be able to give them something that they can start with right away. So that's why I'm giving those courses away for anybody who pre-orders the book.
And is there anything you want to leave the listeners with as we close here?
There's a couple things. There's a couple things for free that I think guys can really dig into. So if you pre-order the book, you'll get access to those free courses. If it's been a minute since you've had a deep conversation with your wife, like we're talking about, like you're just like, dude, I just want to like crack the code. I want to get more connected with her. I've got a free resource called 25 Intimate Conversation Starters that I've used over the years to basically attract my wife back to me. And it's almost like we're dating again. But if you go to thedadedge.com/25 questions, again, thedadedge.com/25 questions, you'll get a PDF of those questions. Just print them off. So you can ask any questions you want and have some fun. It even comes with a really quick, like 15-minute video course from me, just basically explaining why these questions move the needle and why they actually psychologically create connection in your relationship. Because a lot of guys, quite frankly, were just like, I don't understand why these work. I don't understand, like, but it's not really anything to do with marriage. It's human psychology. When we start asking another human being deep questions, they feel really connected to us and they really like it. So it's no different in your marriage.
All right. Well, thanks for joining me. Like I said, I really appreciate it. You've been a big influence over what I do here at Campfire Gentlemen. And so I appreciate you for all that.
Well, it's my pleasure, my man. I appreciate you having me on and taking time to do this. It's really, really nice of you.
Thanks. And so go out and pre-order The Pursuit of Legendary Fatherhood. And I'll have the link in the description. And I say it on all my newsletters. I have the same sign off, and so I might as well say it here. So until next time, keep the fires burning. I'll see you later.